"I hate him, Papa. You choose him always." Now, Cesare, the cardinal said, amused. "The strength of a family, like the strength of an army, is in its loyalty to each other. Besides, it's a mortal sin to hate one's own brother, and there is no reason to endanger your immortal soul over such emotions." He stood now, towering over them. "There is certainly enough of me for all of you, is there not?" "Ches, you can have my place," his daughter now said to Cesare in a voice so clear that the cardinal turned toward her with fascination. Lucrezia, standing with arms folded in front of her, her long blonde ringlets hanging down over her shoulders, wore an expression of hard determination on her angelic face. "You do not wish to hold your papa's hand?" the cardinal asked. "It does not make me cry not to hold your hand," she said, "and it does not make me angry." "Lucrezia," Cesare said with real affection, "don't be a donkey. Juan is just being a baby." The cardinal tousled Juan's dark hair and reassured him. "Stop weeping. You may take my hand." He turned to Cesare and said, "And my small warrior, you may take the other." Then he looked at Lucrezia and gave her a broad smile. "And you, my sweet child, what shall your papa do with you?" When the child's expression remained unchanged, and she showed no emotion, the cardinal was enchanted. "You are truly papa's girl, and as a reward for your generosity and bravery, you may sit in the single place of honor." Rodrigo Borgia reached down and quickly lifted the small girl high into the air to place her on his shoulders, and he laughed with pure joy. Now, as he walked with his elegant garments flowing gracefully, his daughter looked like another new and beautiful crown on the head of the cardinal. That same day, Rodrigo Borgia moved his children into the Orsini Palace, across from his own at the Vatican. His widowed cousin, Adriana Orsini, cared for them and acted as governess, taking charge of their education. When Adriana's young son also became engaged at 13, his fiancée, Giulia Farnese, 15, moved into the palace to help Adriana care for the children. Within weeks, Vanozza was forced to relinquish the baby Joffre to join his brothers and sister, for he had become inconsolable without them. And so it was that all of Rodrigo Borgia's children were together under his cousin's care. One beautiful Sunday, after he had served High Mass at St. Peter's Basilica, Cardinal Borgia invited his children to join him at the Vatican. This was a rare and courageous act, for until the time of Pope Innocent, all children of the clergy were proclaimed to be their nephews and nieces. The cardinal had just finished reading an official document brought to him from Florence by his senior advisor Duarte Brandao. The document concerned a certain Dominican friar known as Savonarola. He was an acclaimed visionary and an eloquent preacher, whose fiery speeches often raged against the carnal and financial excesses of the papacy in Rome. Every ordinary citizen of Florence rushed to hear Savonarola's sermons and responded with great fervor. "We must keep an eye on this simple friar," Rodrigo Borgia said, "for great dynasties have often been brought down by simple men who believe they have a holy truth." Duarte told the cardinal, "There is word that the friar also attacks the Medici from the pulpit, and the citizens of Florence cheer." When the children entered Rodrigo Borgia's private chambers, the conversation halted. Duarte Brandao greeted them with a smile, then stood aside. As the children, Adriana and her son Orso, and the beautiful and charming Giulia Farnese sat around the table laughing and chattering, Rodrigo Borgia felt like a fortunate man. Surrounded by family and friends, life on this earth was good. Silently he said a prayer of gratitude. When his manservant poured the blood-red wine into his silver goblet, he was filled with goodwill. And so, in a gesture of affection, he offered the first sip to his son Juan, who was seated next to him. But Juan tasted the wine and made a face. "It's too bitter, Papa," he said. "I don't like it." Rodrigo Borgia, always alert, suddenly froze with fear. This was a sweet wine. There should be no bitterness. Almost immediately the child complained of feeling sick, and doubled over with stomach pains. Both his father and Adriana tried to reassure him, but only moments later Juan began to vomit violently. The cardinal lifted the boy from his seat, carried him into an anteroom, and placed him on the brocade couch. The Vatican physician was called immediately, but before he could make his way to the chambers, Juan had lost consciousness. Poison, the physician declared after examining the child. Now Rodrigo Borgia lost his holy composure. He became furious. "A poison meant for me," he said. Duarte Brandao, who had been standing by, now drew his sword, alert and watchful for any further attempts to harm the cardinal or his family. The cardinal turned to him. "There is an enemy inside the palace. Gather everyone together in the main chamber. Pour them each a goblet of wine and insist that they drink it. Then bring me the one who refuses." Adriana, concerned, whispered, "My dear cousin, your worthiness, I understand your grief, but in this way you will lose your most trusted servants, for many will become sick and some will die." Rodrigo turned to her. "I will not offer them the wine that was offered my poor innocent son. The wine they are offered will be pure, but only the sinner will refuse to drink, for his fear will choke him before he lifts the cup to his lips." Everyone sat in silence until Duarte came back to announce, "The culprit has been discovered. He is but a kitchen boy, formerly in the employ of the House of Rimini." Rimini was a small feudal province on the eastern coast of Italy, and its ruler, a local duke, Gaspare Malatesta, was a formidable enemy of Rome and the papacy. Cardinal Borgia moved away from the side of his ailing son and whispered to Duarte, "Ask the kitchen boy why he holds his holiness in such contempt. Then be certain he drinks the bottle of wine from our table. Be certain he drinks it all." Duarte nodded. "And what would you have us do with him once the wine has taken effect?" he asked. The cardinal, his eyes glowing, his face flushed, said, "Place him on an ass, tether him tight, and send him with a message to the Lion of Rimini. Tell him to begin to pray for forgiveness and make his peace with God." Juan lay as though in a deep sleep for several weeks, and the cardinal insisted he stay at his palace in the Vatican to be treated by his personal physician. While Adriana sat by his side and several maidservants cared for him, Rodrigo Borgia spent hours in the chapel praying to the Madonna. "I will bring to the one true church the souls of thousands," he promised fervently. "If only you will plead with your son to spare the life of my son." When his prayers were answered and Juan recovered, the cardinal became even more committed to the Holy Catholic Church and to his family. But Rodrigo Borgia knew that heaven alone could no longer secure his family's safety, and so he understood that he must send to Spain for his bastard nephew Miguel Correio, also known as Don Michelotto. As a child in Valencia, Miguel was neither mean nor sadistic. Yet he often found himself defending those souls whose goodness made them vulnerable to the bullying nature of others. From the time he was a child, Miguel accepted his destiny, to protect those who carried the torch of God and the Holy Roman Church into the world. As the cardinal believed that his actions were guided by divine inspiration, so Don Michelotto believed that his hands were guided by the same heavenly force, and so there was no question of sin. For each time he stopped the breath of an enemy of the cardinal or the church, was he not just returning those souls home to the judgment of the Heavenly Father? Now, whenever the cardinal was in Rome and his duties as vice-chancellor didn't force him away, he visited his children daily to talk and play with them, Don Michelotto often at his side. And at the first opportunity, he fled the fetid, choking summer heat of Rome, with its narrow, crowded streets, to take them to Silver Lake, his magnificent